All right. So the debate about Vegas has been, well, clearly they're chokers. I'm gonna go ahead and just silence that there. This team's existed for 3 years. They went to the Stanley Cup Finals in year one. This year they went to the conference finals. Choking teams don't go to the conference finals. That's never been the way that's worked. But there are very polarized views when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, and I get it. I do. I get it. This year, they were the favorites among the betting lines. People say, well, that's because it was Vegas doing the betting. Not all of it. And they were the favorites on various websites. And various pundits were saying, oh, yeah, they're going to win the Stanley Cup. And you can see why when you look at the lineup. But this is a team that has struggled to get over the hump. And in the Stanley Cup Finals 2 years ago, they met up with a Washington team that was a machine. And once they started that cross-crease pass, Vegas didn't have the answer. And Vegas went out in 5. Last year, they had the 3-1 series lead on San Jose. They lost games 5 and 6. And then in game 7, they had the lead. There was a major penalty called on them. It rattled the team. The coach never called a timeout. Marc-Andre Fleury couldn't make a save during that period, and it fell apart. And they eventually lost that game in overtime. This year, they got by Chicago, and those games were close, but they were the superior team. And against Vancouver, they were the superior team, but Demko shut them down pretty good. And then in the last round, against the Dallas Stars, Anton Khudobin was the hero for the Dallas Stars. And so Vegas loses in 5. So the storyline with Vegas is one where there are going to be those who say, well, this is a team that's clearly just a bunch of chokers. And the funny thing is, when I did that power rankings, I think people forget that was just including first and second round. I don't consider any team that gets to the conference finals or a Stanley Cup final as a choker. That's not, no, because you got through 2 rounds, you got to the 3rd round, and then you lost. And so I don't view that as being any sort of choke on that level. I can understand why people see it that way. The expectations were higher for Vegas. Vegas was the better team than Dallas through parts of that series. But once Dallas turned things on, Vegas didn't really have an answer. And you can put that on the coach if you want, but it's the same thing that happened last year under Gallant when they were against San Jose. Kelly McCrimmon's the GM who has the unenviable job of trying to fix this. Trying to get the team to where the owner envisioned them to be, which was, okay, we're going to win a Stanley Cup right away, and trying to be realistic about it at the same time. And of course, the coach should still be Peter DeBoer. I thought Peter DeBoer did a good job. You look at the regular season record under Gallant, the team was middling, and once they picked up DeBoer, the team's record got better. And they did get to the 3rd round this year. They lost in the 1st round last year. So again, this is a team that has shown, and one thing I will say, I'm not going to throw the word chokers around because A, everybody else is doing it, and B, I don't think it's that simple. To me, a team that chokes is one that just doesn't show up. One that they're heavily favored, and then they just lose. And you're like, where did that game come from? I've seen teams I cheer for do that. I've seen Boston do it, where you're like, okay, this is the biggest game of the year, and the effort's not there. They just don't have it. I think in Vegas's case, they've played well. I think, though, that I don't want to say there's a fragile portion of this team, but there's just something happens when the game starts to turn against them. You can almost see their bench going, well, it's happening again, isn't it, guys? Great. Now what? And so, and again, you might be able to say, well, that could be a coaching thing. That could be a coaching staff thing. That could be an environmental thing. And then you have to look at each player's character on the team and each player's ability to overcome adversity and win. And so for Vegas going into year 4, this is going to be a very interesting team to watch. They don't really have cap space. They have $4.9 million in cap space for next year. And they've got some players they're going to want to re-sign. So their top 6 forwards, Pacioretty, divisive figure among hockey fans. 30-goal scorer, yes. Is he a playoff performer? And that's where the divisive part comes in. William Karlsson, I love Karlsson. Is he a number 1 center? Probably not. He should probably be the number 2. Stone is one of the best two-way forwards in the game. I'm not going to say anything bad about Stone. That's not going to happen. Marchessault, I think, peaked a couple years ago. I do. And I think if there's anybody from this core who may find himself getting traded, I think Marchessault might be the guy. He didn't get a goal in the last 11 games. And I think there's been a struggle there. And if they decided to trade Marchessault, I think somebody would pick him up. Then there's Stastny. You'll notice that in some cases I've put up an age here. Stastny's 34. His contract expires next year. And I would not be surprised to see Vegas maybe look at moving him, but things have to happen for that to take place. Riley Smith. Riley Smith is the other one to me with Marchessault. They've been tied to each other for a while, so why not tie them to each other with a possible exit? They both make $5 million a year. If they decide to make a move, Smith might get more phone calls for Vegas than Marchessault. And if he ended up in Vancouver, that would complete the triumvirate. He would have played for Boston, Dallas, and Vancouver. Now, Alex Tuch deserves some mention as a guy who's not top 6, but produces goals, usually a bunch in a row, and then he might go quiet for a while. Cody Glass. Glass may very well be the one that decides what they do. Glass, if he's ready to be a number 2 center, then you can trade Stastny. You can look at moving on. You can look at completely changing the attack. If Peyton Krebs comes in and he's ready to play this coming season as well, that could change things for them and make it easier for them to move on from Smith or Marchessault. But they don't have a really deep pool of top draft picks and top prospects. They have moved on from Brandstrom went to Ottawa and they lost Suzuki to Montreal, and that pain could start hitting them as soon as this coming season. Like, Pacioretty's a good player, but who played better in the playoffs, Suzuki with Montreal or Pacioretty with Vegas? The answer is Suzuki with Montreal. So, and then they got Tatar to that deal as well. Tatar didn't fit in Vegas. It was nice to see Vegas get something back for him in a trade, but I still think the Suzuki move's going to hurt because he's exactly the forward Vegas needs right now. He's a two-way center. He's able to score. He's very unselfish. He's a team player. Everything that you want if you're the Vegas Golden Knights. And you look at what got that team to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2018, and it was unselfish play. It was everybody being all one unit. And the more players get traded out from that original team, the more the attitude and the personality of the team seems to change. Now on the blue line, Braden McNabb, Nate Schmidt, Alec Martinez, Shea Theodore, that's your top 4. Theodore, of course, will be talked about a lot in the offseason for what a great year he had. We'll see how he follows it up. We'll see if the regular season Shea Theodore next year is as good as the playoff Shea Theodore was this year. And then out there's Nick Hague. Hague's one of those prospects that maybe he comes in, maybe he makes that run. And I know there's going to be people saying, well, what about Whitecloud? I think Whitecloud's a third pairing guy. I don't necessarily see that top 4 potential with Whitecloud. And if McNabb gets moved, maybe then we see, some other movement in the top 4. But if McNabb gets moved, it would probably be a cap space movement that's taking place. We're going to see some of that, some cap place movements going on. And I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work for them because it's an expensive team. And Vegas is going to be a cap team going forward because the expectation is that they're going to win a championship. And if they don't, we could look at this team, say, 5 years down the road and say, well, they were built to win right away, and now where are they? Their goaltenders, of course, Fleury and Dansk are both under contract for next year. Marc-Andre Fleury's 35, and he's turning 36 pretty soon. Fleury's had a very good career. Robin Lehner's the future for them. If they're going to make this work, they need to find a way to keep Robin Lehner. And I know there's a portion of the Vegas fan base that's very anti-Robin Lehner. Lehner's an excellent goaltender, and I'm really honestly I'm not sure. I mean I get it. The 2017-2018 team was this magical run, and you can get really attached to it. Vancouver, just down the street here, fans got really attached to that 2011 run to the point where when Tortorella was running the team, he actually says in a press conference, hey, 2011's gone. You guys need to let it go. It's not coming back. You have to change things. This is different. And Vegas may very well be in a position over the next year or so to say, hey, 2017, 2018 was great. That was our great first year. We're going to need to make a huge change in order to get back to where we want to get if we're going to actually win a championship this time. So Leonard, I think they need to keep him. I don't think that players are going to worry about that. And I think if Fleury goes and Leonard's the starter, these are professional hockey players being paid millions and millions of dollars. They're being paid to go out on the ice and do the job to the best of their ability, and to rally around one another. So to me, it's not a matter of, well, if they're upset about Fleury, why aren't they rallying around Robin Leonard then? Like, it's just one of those things, right? Or, it's like Fleury's still on the bench, so it's not like he's not there. And he played a backup role for Pittsburgh during parts of both of their most recent Stanley Cups. So, yeah. So anyways, we'll see how all of that comes out, because, again, $4.9 million in cap space. They're UFAs. Thomas Nosek, I think he's probably gone. I do. I think he's probably out. Zykov, out. Merrill, if he may stick around. But keep in mind with Merrill, let's just say he signs for $1 million. Then they have $3.9 million in cap space. This is a team with cap problems. England's done. I think this was going to be his last year anyways. I think he'd already said this would be his last year. Leonard is the big one. Do you bring back Robin Leonard? What do you pay Robin Leonard? For how much term? And if Kelly McCrimmon's bound and determined to make this work, then he's going to re-sign Leonard, and you're probably going to have to move some money in order to make that work. Because Leonard, I would think the $5 million, while it was a rumor that he was signing for 5 years, $25 million, when I heard that, I thought it makes sense to me that rumor would fly, because that's about the amount of money that I think Leonard could get on the market and the kind of term he could get. He's only 29 years of age. And so 5 years would only take him to 34. And, goaltenders will often play better later on in their careers. So when we look at their cap situation, and if you're looking to free up money, Fleury makes $7 million next year and the year after. And at this point, is Fleury a $7 million a year goaltender? I would say no. I understood why they signed him to that extension. I totally got it. Is he a $7 million goaltender? I don't think he is right now. Pacioretty, $7 million for 3 more years. During the regular season, absolutely earned. Postseason, there's going to be that question until he leads a team and is leading them in scoring. And just goal scoring. Doesn't have to be points, but goal scoring throughout a really long run. Those questions are going to still linger when it comes to Pacioretty. Stone, 28 years of age, $9.5 million until 2027. He's not going anywhere. But the question that gets asked, and one thing that the people have said is that even Stone, these aren't like elite level scorers. They're not elite level goal scorers. They don't have that elite forward. They don't have a McDavid. They don't have an Ovechkin. They don't have a Crosby. They don't have somebody who can be that guy who can strap them on their back and say, all right, we're going. Stone has some of that great two-way forward, his ability to steal pucks. The compete levels at off the charts. But is he that dynamic Jack Eichel, Austin Matthews type? I don't see that. And that's the question mark I have with Vegas, is that it's been a team aspect. It's been a 4-line, 6 defenseman aspect of this team. I don't know that they have that big star forward that they can rely on for those points when they need them. And I don't know that they have one going forward. I don't know that Glass has it. Maybe Krebs shows something as a rookie. Maybe he shows he can do that. Maybe he's the big goal scorer that they need. Looked like a steal at the time they got him, so we'll see. And then there's Marchessault, $5 million until 2024. So he makes $5 million a year until 2024. And I having watched this team through the playoffs, he would be the one that I would look at and say, that's probably the contract you should try to move. If you're Kelly McCrimmon, I think you move out Marchessault, you re-sign Leonard, and then you look for somebody who can fill in the free agent market, who may not be Marchessault in terms of stature, but a guy who can come in for a year or two, make less money, free up cap-wise, and then you hope that Krebs and Glass are both ready. And if Krebs and Glass are both ready, or if Krebs is ready next year and you've signed a stopgap for 2 years. It's an interesting team. They're not going to get a lot of time at the draft table. Number 29 pick, if the Islanders take out the Bolts, that becomes the number 28 pick. So those picks haven't been decided quite yet, but they'll either pick 28th or 29th in this year's draft. They don't have a second round pick. That went to Los Angeles. And then in the third round, they have the number 91 overall draft pick. So 2 draft picks in the first 3 rounds. And this is a team that, if they're going to make it work, it's going to have to be basically this roster. And I just don't know. I don't know if I look at that. Again, it's a solid top 6, a solid top 4. And their goaltending, if you bring back Leonard and if you do keep Fleury, they don't have to trade Fleury. This is the weird part, is people are like, oh, something's got to give. They've got to move a goaltender. They don't have to move a goaltender. All of this drama is from Alan Walsh. Like, the agent started all this drama, and everybody's like, oh, that's it, Fleury's got to go. And I don't think he does. I think if Fleury sits down with McCrimmon and says, you know what, I'm fine with being backup. I know my agent's all upset. I'm fine with being the backup next year if I have to be, or being the 1B. Playing basically the same role Hudobin played for Dallas this year. And basically deciding to work with Leonard and have a really good goaltending tandem, then you can have $12 million in your goaltending. It makes things tricky on the rest of the roster when you are spending a lot of money elsewhere, but if you have to move money, you can. But I don't think they have to move Fleury. I don't see it. I think they can do it, and I again, because I don't think goaltending was their problem this year. And the biggest issue I've had with Vegas for most of their existence has been they've relied too much on one goaltender. And if Fleury makes an exit and Leonard's the starter, well, Dansk isn't a backup at the NHL level. So who are they going to bring in then to be the backup? Then you can't just move Fleury. You also have to add a goaltender. It gets really difficult. Anyways, Vegas is going to be a fascinating team to watch during the offseason. Let me know your thoughts regarding what they need to do and how things can get fixed. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.